ITV. I'm your host, Priya Ali. This show is designed to bring you real tools and real experts for real people like you who are ready to stop waiting and start living 365. At the time of filming this current episode, I'd like to just say thank you to all the B3 ITV network viewers. You've just taken us over to 100,000 views since we started 6 months ago. So I really just wanted to thank you all for tuning in consistently, and we hope to keep bringing you great shows with great content that keeps you coming back. I also wanted to let you know that our online reading site is up and ready. Well, it's been ready for a while, and we wanted to invite you to join us at onlinereadings.ca. As some of you know, and for those of you who don't, I am a third generation intuitive healer and psychic. And one of the things that I do is offer psychic readings online through the form of online chat. So it's almost like instant messaging back and forth. I do this on a per minute basis. So if you have a quick question that you just want some extra help with, that's something that I can do for you. Or if you have something more in depth and that you need a lot more guidance around, that's definitely something I can do. What I do is I tune into your energy remotely and tune into your guides, angelic guidance, and help you answer the questions that you have on hand and bring you whatever guidance is available to you. So once again, feel free to join me at online readings. One of the ways to know if I'm actually online is to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. I will be posting the times of day that I'll be up on and online on my Facebook page. I just wanted to welcome you to the show again. What I've chosen to talk about today is actually the power of you and the domino effect that you create in the world around you. Now, I've really come to notice over the last few weeks in my own life the difference that I make and the effect and the impact that my choices make on other people, and the impact that other people's choices have made on me over the last little while. Now, I know that this has been happening throughout my entire lifetime, but it's just really come to my attention as I observe my world around me, which is something that I often do, is how people's choices are impacting me and how my choices are impacting others. So to give you a great example, I woke up yesterday. I had a close cousin of mine staying over. He and his wife are separated, and he's got two children. So he came over, it was a Friday night, to spend the night over with his kids. And we had some plans to do things together, hang out together, bring our kids together, but he and I are quite close too, so it would just give us some time to spend together. Now, I realized after the fact, it was a Friday night, we were all just kind of relaxing and chilling out, and I happened to invite one of my other cousins to drop in. And I recognized that when I had said that my other cousin was dropping in, I could see on my first cousin's face that he kind of changed his disposition. And I made a note of it, but it kind of left me. And so we went through the evening, you know, what we do, watching sports, hanging out with the kids, playing some games, that kind of thing, ended up to bed. And in the morning, I awoke to a phone call and text message from a friend of mine who's involved in a relationship with another friend of mine. They're dating, and she was concerned because throughout the evening her boyfriend had called and was talking to her and gave her the indication that he may be considering, you know, taking his life, unfortunately. And she mentioned this to me, and I was quite concerned. And so it became a process in the morning of trying to figure out if he was okay, how to determine if he was okay, how to get into his place and check on him. We tried reaching him. And it was one of those things that as it was unfolding, I was really seeing how somebody's choices had impacted other people's lives. So for instance, in order to try to get into his place, we thought that his parents had a key. Now, this is a childhood friend of mine that I've known for, you know, since I was about 8 or 9. And so it involved me making a phone call over to his folks and saying, listen, this is what's going on. Do you actually have a key to this place? They were involved they'd had a flood in their place, so they were staying in a hotel. They were just about to check out. So now, as parents, this gentleman's choices have impacted his parents' day that day, because now they're worried. They're in the midst of checking out of a hotel. They're trying to get themselves organized. Now, his girlfriend, she's supposed to go to work. She doesn't have coverage for work. She, after work, has 2 kids at home. She's waiting for someone to come and pick up her daughter's friend in the morning. So now all the people that she's interacting with, you know, does she go to work? Does she not go to work? her day is now impacted. I woke up in the morning, my cousin was still here, so I was going to make breakfast for him and the kids and whatnot. We were starting to get into a conversation, and this thing was kind of unfolding as we were going through this process. And I realized as we were going through things that I was again taking away from him and what I felt like he might have needed from me. So that's now impacted. As I'm sorting through things, the children are now impacted because we were supposed to go out and they're waiting for me to wrap things up and get on my way. And so when I really got back to take a step back and look at how many lives had been impacted by this person's one choice. Now, thankfully, he's well and physically well, and actually in a space to take a look at this very same thing, because I did have this conversation with him and said, you know, you by uttering a few phrases, by making a few sentences, and you actually had this huge impact on many people's worlds and many people's lives and their experiences over several hours. And I don't know that we actually are conscious of this when we operate in our lives from day to day, how much of an impact we have on those around us. Now, take for instance, even if you're driving down the highway and even if it was by accident, you cut someone off, you really don't know the impact that you have on that person. Do they get angry? Were they in a good mood and then that started it, and then they look and see something else is going wrong, something else is going wrong. Now, that's not to say that I'm saying take blame, but what I'm saying is be aware. Be aware of how you can impact the people around you by the choices that you make, by the words that you articulate. Now, luckily for me, as I mentioned, having a little bit of psychic intuition, I pretty much knew that my friend was okay in the morning. And so I did change the course of some of the actions I had planned to take. At one point in time, it was on the table that we were going to call 911 and have them break in to his place and check if he was actually okay. You know, there were different things that came up, but I decided to take a step back and really see, okay, what is it what do I need to do here, and what's actually going to be a solution? So even by doing that, that helped me, because my instinct was, when I talked to his girlfriend, was I was going to drive over. It's okay, you go to work, I'll drive over there. But what that would have meant was me standing outside of a house that I have no way of getting to. He lives in a triplex, so I wouldn't even be able to knock on the door to his place. She suggested I take a ball so that I could throw it to his window at the back of the house in hopes of waking him. Now, for those of you who have been watching the show for 6 months or so, I'm not sure if there's anything about me that looks like I stand outside with a ball of somebody's window in the dead of winter in Canada and pound it back and forth. That was not appealing to me. So I took a step back and really thought, what needs to happen here is we need to check if this gentleman is okay. And the two options were, let's try the people that potentially have a key, and if not, then I do have to move to option number 2, which is call 911, because they're actually the people who are going to be able to help us. So in actually taking a step back, I altered the changes that I was able to make, because, you know, just randomly calling 911 and having that whole thing, the door to the house is going to be broken in, there's all that kind of stuff. So what I'm suggesting is take a step back and just really take a look at this situation, because a lot of times when we're making choices on how to act and what to say, we get caught up in our emotions and we get caught up in the drama of something. We get caught up in the worst case scenario. So by the time I had finished talking to his girlfriend, and you know, she is, and God love her, and there are many people like her, and I'm sure I can be like this too, is she went to the worst case scenario, and when she got into the worst case scenario and got there, she was making her decisions from there. And her decision was, you know, and we do this, right? We get to a point where we've imagined the worst and we're already in that scenario where, you know, he's passed on. We're actually, well, what are we going to do if he's already, in her mind, he's already hurt, and if we've got to save him, what do we do now? So I was able to stay back and actually, you know, kind of take a look at the bigger picture here and think what's really going on and take it a step at a time. So when we're making choices and when we're choosing how to act and what is actually going to be a next logical step, it does help again to take a step back and really just look at what's really going on, because we get caught up in our emotions. And again, just in doing that, we don't realize how that impacts the people around us and what that could do. So when I actually phoned his parents, I wanted to just stay very calm and explain the situation very calmly. Whereas I know some other people that would call up and be like, oh my God, this is a panic situation. So I just look to keep them very calm and just give them the facts. And I've done an episode in talking to you about, when we listen to people and we're communicating is stick with the facts. So that way it keeps a lot of that room for misinterpretation and emotions that are going to get heightened over something. It helps to keep that under wraps. But just really coming back to the concept of understanding how your words impact someone, how the tone of your words impact someone, how your actions impact many people. So in actually having a conversation with my friend today, who is the gentleman we were concerned for, and allowing him to see how his choices actually impacted so many people, I think it was really, one, helpful to him, but it also just reinforced for me that definitely something that I will be more cognizant of, in knowing that I impact those around me in a huge way, whether I know it or not. And there are people that my choices impact that I don't even see. I'll be honest, the other day I was driving to a luncheon, and I was trying to park in a spot, and I got in and I thought for a very brief moment I had parked in a handicap spot. So I came back out, and I actually at the corner of my eye saw someone coming with what I thought was a handicap sign in their car. Now, it turned out the spot wasn't a handicap spot. And I thought, well, you know what? If this person has the sign, I'm able-bodied. I can walk 6 or 7 more spots if maybe they need it. So I went in my own mind trying to be helpful and reverse out. And I was busy. I've got one of these cars that has the reverse cam, so I was looking at it, and I heard the sensor going off, beep, beep, beep. But I didn't see anything, so I kept going. And I guess I almost hit this person's car. So as I moved forward and pulled back in to get out of the way, the person put her window down, and she said, "Watch where you're going." And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't real I thought this was a spot. I'll move so you can have it." And she's like, "I don't want the spot, but watch where you're going." Now, in my mind, the choice I was making was to be of help. But what I actually ended up doing in trying to be of help is I actually pissed her off quite a bit. And she was rather upset, and I almost maybe caused an accident. So there are choices that we make that we don't really even realize how we're impacting people. I don't know if it's a timing thing. Sometimes when you do something, you take extra long doing something, using something that maybe you don't even need to use, and someone else is waiting for it. How does that impact them? We never know these things. And so what I'm asking, or I'm suggesting, is that you just take a moment of awareness. It may not change anything that you do, but just be aware. Be aware of what you're doing, what you're choosing, what you're saying, and how it can impact those around you. Now, the examples that I've given you have been more focused on how what we do, what we choose, impacts those around us in a negative way. But let's flip it around for a minute, because by making positive choices, by deliberately choosing something positive to say or something positive to do, I would assume that theoretically, based on my theory, that we can positively impact people as well, and that our choices that we use and choose in order to interact with people and the things that we say, they may have a direct impact on that person, but exponentially, we have no idea how positively impactful we can be. So if I were to successfully have done that handicap parking exchange and not knocked a woman's car down in it almost, maybe that would have really made her day by, actually a person that was using a spot and recognizing that, oh, look at, this person didn't have to move, but they did. They actually took that time to notice that was it, that was something that would be helpful to me. And that might put that person in a better mood, which means that the next 2 or 3 people that they encounter, their interactions will be maybe more compassionate, maybe in a more heightened level, maybe more happy or friendly, because they're now in a better space. So without knowing, you may inadvertently improve the day for 6 or 7 people by an interaction that you have with one person. See how this works? So basically, really knowing what you're doing, and what I find is that if you, more often than not, because we're all going to have moments, we're all going to have backing into people's cars without looking kind of thing, or potentially backing into people's cars without looking moments, or we're going to have moments where, like my friend, out of emotion said something that really just triggered a whole train wreck. we're going to have those. But when we take the opportunity and we make the choice to deliberately act and speak in ways that come from good intention, that come from the heart, that come from, being of service, or actually making a difference and an impact in the people around us, I find that more often than not, you get good results from that. And it's one of the things that I pride myself by, and I strive for each day, is to do things from a good heart and with good intention. Because generally speaking, when you start from there, you will see results that demonstrate that actually, come from that point, come from a place of good. They're going to take that role, they're going to take that position, they're going to take that path and keep going in that direction. So by actually focusing, and it's not necessarily because you have to go out and do something for someone else, but actually coming from a place of a positive attitude, coming from a place of happiness, coming from a place of joy, that it is contagious. There's a saying out there that says attitudes are contagious. Is yours worth catching? And it's something that we really have to ask ourselves on a daily basis, because even if you do not directly impact someone, you can impact them. I'm sure we've all been in one of those in situations where we're in a restaurant or a public place and somebody, causes a fuss over something that went wrong, and it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you feel uncomfortable. Now, you haven't interacted with them, you haven't had any direct dealings with them, but the way that they're acting, the words that they're choosing, the actions that they're choosing can be contagious. They can affect the vibration of a room, and that can impact you, and it can lower where you're at vibrationally on a frequency level of, and when I say vibrationally, where your mood is at, where your vibe is at. It can actually change that. So yeah, it's important to really pay attention to what you're doing and how it can impact others. And I'm not saying to do it in a way that you're on eggshells, walking around, how is my behavior impacting that person? But to be in a mindset that, as I mentioned, when you're generally in a positive place and you're really acting from having a happy day, having a positive attitude, coming from your heart, generally speaking, that in itself will allow you to be in that place. And so that if you do happen to bump into somebody, it's going to be a good thing, because it might be something that triggers them off in a good way, because that energy actually helps you. Everything that we do, like I said, it has that domino effect. It has an effect on somebody in some way. And so if we can, spend the time and the effort to come from a place that starts off from a positive energy, that comes up from a loving energy, I think we can really make a difference in the way our dominoes fall. As always, I just want to remind you to stop waiting and start living 365. Hi there, Priya Ali here from Living 365 TV. Valentine's Day is coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're looking for the great Valentine gift, I want to recommend to you the Chocolate Date. Now, Chocolate Date is a wonderful product that I came across about a month ago when I met the wonderful owner, Ellen, and I had the opportunity to taste the Chocolate Date. What it is actually is a date covered chocolate, dates that come from Dubai that are covered in Belgian chocolate. Now, some of you might think, oh, I'm not sure about dates, but it really is a wonderful treat. I was so impressed with it. And what I loved about it is that it was very rich, and I only needed one. I probably could have eaten two or three, but really one, if I wanted to be honest, it was just enough because it's so rich. And it was just so tasty that I really enjoyed it. The other thing I love about this product is that it is done in such a nice box. The box is so beautiful. It looks so luxurious, and you just want to even keep the box around. It looks so nice. So for those of you who are struggling with something to do or something to get for your loved one, I would definitely recommend the Chocolate Date. And the beauty of it is you can order it right online. So go to www.chocolatedate.com and have yourselves a great Valentine's Day.